Welcome. This video is going to cover color in CSS. To start, I'd like to explain the difference between RGB color mode and CMYK color mode. RGB stands for red, green, blue, and CMYK stands for cyan, maroon, yellow, and black. And the difference here is that CMYK is used for print design and RGB is used for screen-based design. So all web color is going to be RGB based. So if you're familiar with print design and have used CMYK color mode before, everything you're doing on the web is going to be done with RGB. Color can be applied in three different areas with CSS. First, it can be applied to text with the color property. Can also be applied to a background of a box with the background color property. And finally, it can be applied to a border of a box with the border color property. However, borders of boxes will need a width and a style in order to display. So you see we've got the text itself with color, background color for the background of the box, and border color for the border of the box. So you see when I specified these colors, I did so via simple names, blue, red, and black. These colors are a set of what's called named RGB values. And there's a ton of different named RGB values. So I can change blue over to light blue or Alice blue or steel blue. And all of those are just different variations on blue with particular names. There's more than 100 of these options in CSS3, but ultimately named colors only gets you so far, which is why you often will be specifying values for this. And these are a number-based system for indicating what the RGB color is. There's two systems beyond simply the 100 plus named colors, and those are integer values and hexadecimal or hex values. Integer values are specified through RGB and then parentheses and three numbers separated by commas. Those numbers each range from 0 up to 255, and lower numbers for each one indicates less of that color. So this first value is red, second value is green, third value is blue, and so say 130 is going to be about halfway full of the red color, 255 is all the way on green, and 0 is no blue. And so we end up with this color right here. Well, integer values are useful to know. The much more common form of values in CSS is hex values. Hex values are used by web developers and designers across the world consistently. You will see some designers and developers use integer values, but hex values are kind of the industry standard. So you need to know hex values. And hexadecimal values start with a pound sign, and they're going to consist of 6 digits. Each of those 6 digits is paired off with another digit. So the first 2 digits are paired together. The second 2 digits are paired together, and the third 2 digits are paired together. And each of these pairs represents a color channel in RGB. So the first 2 are red, then the second 2 are green, and the final ones are blue. And like the integer values, these indicate how much of the color is included in the final color. And so 0 is going to be the lowest, and the highest value you can have is F. So if I do for instance, FF0000, you'll see that this text turns completely red, which is why it's disappeared here. If, however, I do 0000FF, my color is turning blue because I have no green, no red, and all blue in here. The first number in each pair is what happens if you take the RGB value, say 255, and divide by 16. The second number is the remainder for that division, which is why the first in each pair is much more important for the overall color value. So if you change that first digit in each pair, you're going to see a bigger change to your overall color. If you adjust the second of each pair, you're going to tweak the color very slightly because you're looking at the remainder in a division. On the practical side of hex codes, there's a few things to know. First off, a really useful thing to know is that you can create a gray of any value by making all of your numbers identical. So you can do 000000 for black, all the way up to FF for white. But you can also do something like E2 for a very light gray, or 24 for a very dark gray, almost black. You can also look at any given hex code and be able to adjust it slightly to get a color that's more akin to what you're looking for. So if, for instance, I'm just going to make one up here, I have 3792E5. That ends up with this color right here. But let's say I want that to be a little bit darker. I can adjust down all of these values. So I could do 2580B3. And you see we end up with a little bit darker of that same version of that color. You can also bring it closer together, bring the values closer together to do a tone of the color to make it a little grayer. And you can also make more of like a pastel-y color by increasing the values upward towards the more letter-based values, A's, B's, C's, D's, E's, and F's. Finally, I want to show you how to specify opacity on your colors and your elements. First, you can specify opacity on any element with a color, either color, background color, or border color, via the RGB alpha feature. And the RGB alpha values look basically the same as RGB values, but you do have the A after RGB right here. And then you also have a final value inside the values. So here's 000 for black. That is your opacity value. So 0.5 would be 50% opacity, 0.2 would be 20%, 0.8 would be 80%. And you'll see, like when I do 0.2, instead of being like a gray, if I specified this via gray, it actually ends up blending into my background color here. So this is a really, really useful way to do opacity. You can also do opacity via the opacity property. And again, you can set your values like so. The difference with this is that this will apply to the entire element, not just to the individual color that you're targeting here. So if you apply opacity, you're applying it to that entire selector, in this case, the entire H1 block. That's everything you need to know with color. The next video is going to cover backgrounds. Thanks for watching.